This movie was about
Lights, camera, action is going down. For my ATL movies, when we run this town with your host, T-Will, yeah, keeping it real. From the A to the screen, you can feel the thrill. Rolling with the classes, we're setting the pace. Highlighting the magic of our soulful space. Got the vibe, got the crew, making it tight. When the screen lights up, everything feels right. Grab your popcorn, let's make it loud. T-Will, T-Will. It's movie time, ATL style. Stand proud. From the silver screen to the hearts we steal. T-Will, T-Will. Every frame we capture is a real deal. Yeah. Talking premieres where the stars align. ATL views, yeah, they really shine. Behind the lens, capture.
Let's go. Welcome, movie fans everywhere. Welcome. How is everybody doing? Hopefully you guys are doing well out there in YouTube land or wherever you're going to see this. It's your host T-Will and my guy Jordan Burton with the NOLA shirt on today. He was wearing a Philly shirt and then he took that off. So I don't know what happened, but whatever. Jordan, today we're talking about Avengers Age of Ultron and Ant-Man. As if you're watching, you get a twofer. Jordan, how you doing today, brother? On this Friday the 13th.
I'm feeling tremendous. Friday the 13th, fantastic. Couldn't ask to be in a better place.
Awesome. Well, my friend, let's get to it. Today we are talking about Avengers Age of Ultron, one of my favorite movies. I know you love it. And without further ado, bro, let's get to it. Super excited. This was released on May the 1st, 2015, so about 11 years ago. It was directed by Mr. Joss Whedon, like Joss Stone. Joss Whedon. As a matter of fact, is Joss Stone still making music?
I have no idea.
Don't know. Me either. Okay. I liked it back in the day. Anyway, Robert Downey Jr., of course, plays Iron Man. Chris Evans is Captain America. Chris Hemsworth is Thor. Mark Ruffalo is Hulk. Scarlett Johansson is Black Widow. And Jeremy Renner is Hawkeye. And the main villain, as we know it, is Ultron. Or is it? We'll have to see. It did about 1.4 billion worldwide with a B. Billion with a B. It's got a runtime of about 141 minutes. Generally positive reviews, although there were some criticisms in regards to too much going on in the plots, but ultimately a really good movie. One I really enjoyed. Jordan, I know you really enjoyed. And I'm just super excited to get to it, man, and get into this. Avengers Age of Ultron stands out in the MCU because it explores the dangers of AI, okay, and unchecked technological power while expanding the Avengers team and setting up major storylines that would later pay off in films like Infinity War and Endgame. And this is true. As a matter of fact, both of these movies that we're doing today, Jordan, set up a lot of plot points in Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. So that's something that I'm looking forward to. I know you are. Let's talk about the antagonists in this movie. And on the surface, it is Ultron, right? Ultron is the AI that Tony Stark and Bruce Banner created because they were trying to put a sheet of protection around the world, right? Like they say, if the aliens come back and roll up to the club, what if they can't get in, right? And like Captain America says, when people try to win wars before they start, bad things happen. So Ultron is the main antagonist. But is it Ultron or is it Tony Stark's fear? Because Tony Stark's fear leads to the creation of Ultron. So, in regard to that, who's the main antagonist here, Jordan? Is it the fear that created him? Or is it the monster that was created as a result of the fear? Give us your thoughts.
I mean, that's a very compelling question. Because I mean, I do think Ultron is the villain of this movie, but I think, yeah, Tony's fear led to the creation of Ultron, and I mean, it's ended up leading to all the consequences that would follow in Civil War, and the reason they would lose in Infinity War and all the events of Endgame. I mean, Tony basically set up his death when he creates Ultron. Um, in that this domino effect happens from this point forward. Um, now, Ultron. I mean, I think Tony is not necessarily the villain or antagonist, but I think he's part of the problem. I think there was a clunkiness and of these characters, and in that they wanted to. They're the Avengers at their peak right now in terms of their cohesion. I mean, this is the last film that we will get with the core main Avengers together. Because after this, in Civil War, they're fighting one another, and Thor and Hulk aren't in that. In Infinity War, they're separated on different planets. In Endgame, Natasha's not in the final battle; she dies. So they're at their peak. They feel like they can stop anybody.
Yeah.
From anywhere.
Yeah.
So when you feel that way, it's like Tony was uncomfortable with being comfortable. So he felt like he needed to find a way for everyone to retire, and find a way for everybody to take a step back so they don't have to do this anymore. So I mean, they put their lives on the line every single time they fight. So by Tony trying to solve that in trying to create Ultron, he inherently creates a problem, because I think everything Ultron says in this movie is 100% correct. I don't think he's wrong about anything. I mean, we can look at over the course of human history. I mean, all the wars and all the fights and all the battles and stuff, it all stems from just human beings and being humans, and just people having differences of opinions and differences of different morals. So, I mean, that's why all of these wars happen. So with Ultron, like, Ultron views this as like humans are the problem. Living beings are the problem, because this is why people die. More people are going to die because of war or disease or just anything than if they just lived in harmony, which is what Ultron's objective is: world peace. There won't be any world peace, and my belief is there's no such thing. But you can't achieve world peace with what goes on in the world, whether the Avengers were in there or not. So you create Ultron, you inherently are creating the doom of the Avengers and the human race. Because
correct, but Ultron's view is like, well, I got to get rid of this cold, so I'm going to kill myself. That'll stop it.
Yes.
Yeah, but there's no life.
That's where he goes to. I don't think he's wrong in the, like,
he's not
the first
wrong.
80% is right.
He's
but
not
the
wrong.
last
But
20 is wrong.
It's devoid of context.
Yes.
It's like if you see a cockroach on the floor and you get out a 12-gauge shotgun. Too far, buddy. Too far. You know what I mean?
And
just step on it and that'll do.
Yeah. And with Ultron, and Ultron is my favorite Marvel villain.
Why is that? Why is that?
Because there's always, like, Thanos has a moral mission, right? And this isn't just in the movies, but in general, this is just all of Marvel existence, comics, movies, animated stuff, like all of that. Thanos has this moral mission, and I'm like, yeah, it's okay. But there's something so psychotic about a character that believes they're right and will go to the extent that they don't care if you live or die. There is this psychoticness, and that's why I like the Green Goblin a lot too. But with Ultron, when Ultron is so just dark and twisted, and in a way that I love to see it. Because he can, I mean, in the comics he literally kills the Avengers, and there's instances in animated movies where or he defeats the Avengers. He defeats the Avengers quite a lot. And
Yeah.
it's not like a Kang situation where you go jump through time and stuff like that. No. This is straightforward annihilating them.
Yeah,
He
he's a
does
very
that.
worthy opponent. Yeah, he is. He's a very worthy opponent.
And
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
and Thanos, like, I say Thanos because Thanos is now he's the most popular villain. I would say he may not be. I mean, he's probably everybody's favorite. I mean, I know a lot of people that's his people's favorite when it comes to Marvel. But with Ultron, that dark, twisted side is what I love because he just doesn't hold back at all. And I love that. I love characters that don't hold back. When Spider-Man is angry and doesn't hold back, that's when I'm like, yeah, I love this guy. Like that's what I love about Spider-Man. Because inherently, if you are, that's why I love Spider-Man is my favorite. Because when he's not holding back and he's angry, that goes to show how much he does hold back and how much he does care for people. When he is fighting bad guys, he doesn't fight to kill them. He wants to save them. He wants everyone to be happy. He wants to have a friendly neighborhood. That's what I love about Spider-Man. But Ultron, in a very different way, doesn't hold back because he has no emotion. He does not care. There's something so sick and twisted about it that I absolutely love. And that's why Ultron's my favorite.
I think he does have. Well, he has emotion in this movie because when
Yeah,
I
a
can't
lot
think,
more than he should.
yeah, well, it's a movie, right? It's like
Yeah.
the difference between comic book Thanos and MCU Thanos.
Yep.
MCU Thanos is dedicated to a goal. Look, he just doesn't want all of life to perish for half of life. But Thanos in the comic books is weird. He's obsessed with death. He's weird. He's a freaking weirdo. Okay? Just saying. No disrespect to anybody who loves comic book Thanos, but he's weird. Okay? Just saying. He tried to date Mistress Death. In the comics, the reason he kills half the universe is he's trying to date Mistress Death, and she wants nothing to do with him. But anyway, another show, another time. So let's get back to this. Ultron hates Tony, right? And as you know, you and I, we do a lot of prep for the show. And in watching a lot of reviews, one of them stuck out to me. And this guy says, Ultron hates Tony because deep down inside, Tony hates Tony. Yes. For everything that he's done in the past in regards to the weapons and sale of weapons and characters that he dealt with. And I don't think Tony counted on that, but in that way, isn't Ultron being human? And they touch on this in the movie when they're in the ship, when he's in Wakanda, and Ultron cuts off what's his name arm. He's like, he said what Ultron said, send money to your friends and your enemies, and whichever will who's written. I don't know, some kind of way he says, send money to your friends and your enemies, and they'll find out. Or I butchered that, but whatever. The line is recognized by the merchant that he's dealing with, and he says, Tony Stark said the same thing to me. Okay, and Ultron goes, no, I'm not like Tony Stark, and cut his arm off, which, spoiler alert, I know it's 11 years old, but if you haven't seen it, there's no blood. Did you notice that? Like, he cut his arm off, there's no blood.
I think it's because it's all right. Here's a possible scenario. I don't remember exactly if there was like any heat or something in how he cut it off. Like, all
You're
right,
saying
so
he cauterized the wound while he was
that's the
cutting it
only
off?
thing I can is that it was so hot and it cut. I mean, the fact that it was that clean of a cut, it was so hot that it immediately cauterized. That's the only thing I can think of. I agree with your standpoint, and I agree 100% with what you're saying. That's the only that's the only logical thing that
Yeah.
in that moment.
I just think they missed it. Whatever. But it's interesting that Tony draws on this because by doing this, by saying I'm going to rid the world of all humans, that's the most human thing you could do. That's the most human response. You're playing God, Ultron.
And
you're an artificial intelligence, but you're still conducting yourself like a human because you have to be in control. I know I'm going to solve the problem by killing everyone. That's human response.
Difference between an AI and a robot. Because a robot is going to go logic is just straight logic, but AI is learning. And so with Ultron being an AI, he's able to learn about what he's not showing emotion, he's showing how throughout human history people would respond in those situations because he's learned already so much. So all he is doing is taking in information and responding to it from the same way that other people would respond. So like when he says don't compare me to Stark, it's not just the anger, it's because he's being compared to someone who his main goal is to eliminate. His main goal is to eliminate Tony and the Avengers. So he's being compared to him. And honestly, and if you're compared to your enemy, throughout human history, if you're compared to your enemy, you're going to get angry at whoever you're talking to.
I mean, I get it. I get why he did it. I'm just saying it was a human response. I'm just, it's, it's
He's an AI. Yeah.
But, whatever. It's all good.
That's what makes animated and comic book Ultron even better is that
he's a savage.
He's so savage.
He's surgical. He's surgical.
Yes. Like it's not really an AI, it's more of the robot. It's Terminator on steroids.
Yeah.
Like it's Skynet on steroids. And that's what I always loved about Ultron.
We're kind of borrowing from Skynet, are we not? We're kind of borrowing from the Terminator in this story. But let's look at Ultron's plan. So he's going to attempt to cause a global extinction event by building an army of Ultron drones, manipulating Wanda Maximoff and Pietro, the twins, who are the property right now of Baron Stoker. Baron Stoker? Did I get that right?
Strucker.
Baron Strucker. And he wants to create a vibranium-powered body. And ultimately, his goal is to lift the city of Sokovia, the Sokovia Accords, lift the city of Sokovia into the sky and drop it like a meteor and basically cause the death of every human being. Although, if you crush the earth, I don't understand how metal will survive. He says, the only thing that will survive will be metal. Well, not if there's no earth. If you're going to shatter the earth, I don't know how metal will survive. I mean, it may survive, but you won't be on this plane. You'll be in outer space. And I don't know how
the vibranium would probably survive. I mean, all right. So what I love about his plan is it would work. Like from a scientific perspective, like if you brought down a city like that, like brought it up and then let it drop, it would eliminate all of life on Earth. It wouldn't like break the Earth or anything like that, but I mean, there would be no survivors.
Okay. All right. Well, Ultron is played by James Spader, who is perfect in that role. I think his monologue in the beginning and just the way he conducts himself, I can't think of anybody else that would be better in that role. I really enjoyed his viewpoint, his perspective as Ultron. Very sarcastic personality, but also very good at reflection and why he was doing these things. And I really enjoyed the interaction between he and the Vision. Like, I enjoyed those two on stage because of what they represented. So, secondary antagonist, you're looking at Wanda Maximoff, who ultimately becomes a hero, but she starts out as an antagonist. So Wanda and Pietro, brother and sister, the Hydra remnants led by Baron Wolfgang von Strucker. And some would argue the fear of this group, because when she turns their fears on, this is when things go awry, right? This is when the Hulk goes crazy. This is when Wanda is reminded that she can no longer have a child because of what happened. Is it the Red Room? Is that what they call it?
Yes.
I believe it's the Red Room. This is when Thor is reminded that he is not worthy, right? Because Heimdall says to him, "You're leading us to hell," with these crazy eyes. Your leadership is leading us to hell. I don't know, whatever.
What's crazy is every single one of the visions that all of these people see come true. Every single one of them. I mean, some of them are flashbacks, but even
it's foreshadowing.
Yes, Black Widow's is foreshadowing the events that would happen in Black Widow. Captain America's is foreshadowing he gets back together with Peggy. Iron Man's and stuff is foreshadowing the events of Infinity War and Endgame. And who else? Thor's visions are showing Ragnarok. They all show visions that will happen.
Yeah, it's the ultimate foreshadowing. But their fear for me is the main antagonist for this movie, because it drives everything. The fear, Tony and Banner's fear, drive them to create Ultron. Yeah. So I feel like fear is also an antagonist. I don't know how you feel about it, but
no, I mean it makes total sense, because that's how Ultron is created, is because of the fear. Like we said earlier, I mean, Tony's fear, even though they were fine and everything was great, like when they're having the time of their lives at Avengers Tower, I mean, everybody's having such a great time. And this is when everybody is at their most comfortable. That's why I love that scene so much, is because everybody feels normal in that moment. And that is the most normal that we get of any movie for the Avengers. So seeing all of them so normal, it almost created a level of uncomfortableness, not just in general in that scene, but
it was quiet before the storm.
Yes. But Tony knew that after this fight in Sokovia with Strucker, that all right, we're done. We're good now. But he was so uncomfortable with that being comfortable that he felt like he needed to fix something that wasn't broken. So that's why he ends up creating Ultron. Is he tried to solve a battle before, like Steve says, he tried to solve a war before the war started.
Yeah. But look, Thanos is coming either way. You know what I mean? Thanos is coming. So to a certain extent, Tony is right. He is right to be concerned. He is right to be fearful. That I think there are certain things that logically do not make sense, but we can feel. We can feel when an event is about to happen. There is a sixth sense, if you will, in some instances, not all, where you know that something is about to happen. And so I think this is the phenomenon that's going on with Tony, where he's like, it's not over. You know what I mean? Tony, I'll give you, he is the ultimate control freak. And to experience that, think about that. He went into this vortex with nothing but space and these ships that probably look bigger than any dinosaur that he's ever seen. and watch them explode, Jordan, that would give me nightmares. I would think about that. I would not be able to sleep some nights. I probably would go through PTSD. And if some little witch just came and played on that fear, I'd probably be the same way, right? But he's not wrong, because there is an entity out there who is planning to come to Earth to fetch some of the Infinity Stones. Whether he does this with Ultron or not, it's going to happen.
See, and the issue is, if he doesn't do this, the events of Civil War don't happen. And that means the Avengers are together on Earth, and ready for Thanos. And because he does this, it leads to Civil War, and it leads to the Avengers breaking up, and they wouldn't have been ready. And that's the whole reason that, like, the Russo brothers have said this, that if the events of Civil War needed to happen in order for them to lose an Infinity War. And so that tells me, if everybody was together for Infinity War, Thanos would have lost. They would have had all the stones ready. They would have been ready for Thanos to come. And there would have been more people. Who knows if the Guardians would have been there, but Thor would have been there. Hulk wouldn't have been as weird as he is. Hulk, because the events of this movie lead to Hulk going into space, and then Ragnarok happening. So Hulk's not there. Thor is probably there. Tony's there. Spider-Man's there. Doctor Strange is there. All of these characters are together. Who knows if the Guardians are there? But you have everybody ready for Thanos. But because Tony was trying to fix a war before it started, he ended up creating another war within the Avengers, a civil war. And that ended up leading to the downfall of the Avengers. They say at the beginning of Infinity War.
Do you think it was Tony that created the Civil War, or was it Wanda? Because when we look at all of these events, oh no, that's Wanda.
I think it was
Wanda. Wanda was the one that caused Hulk to crash out and do what he did. But I am thankful to Wanda, because if not, we wouldn't get the Hulk versus the Hulkbuster, which was great. It's one of my favorite scenes in this movie. But it was Wanda.
Yeah, but Ultron also explained the plan. It wasn't Wanda's idea. It was Ultron. Ultron was trying to. Ultron was manipulating a person who can manipulate people's minds. That's pretty crazy. He was manipulating them while they were at their lowest. They don't have a home. They're mad at mainly Tony. They're both mad at Tony because of what happened when they were younger. But they're just mad at them. So Ultron played with them, and it's pretty remarkable. As a manipulator, for Ultron to be a manipulator. That's why I really like Ultron. And I like Thanos, because not only are they good in hand-to-hand combat, but they're also great mental villains.
Okay. All right. That's fair. Well, we join our Avengers as they are attacking a Hydra base, and man, they are just laying these guys to waste. They are picking them up and mowing them down, and Tony is trying to fire at the main complex, and the bomb does nothing, and Tony says, oh, shh. He says the sugar honey iced tea, and Cap says, language! And man, that is a theme that is woven throughout this movie, and it is great. Tony says, is anybody going to deal with the fact that Tony just said that Cap just said language? And Cap says, I know, it just slipped out. And, but this is one of the things for me that makes this movie great, is that they're little things that they take and they play them throughout the movie. And it's just great. So I love it. I think later on, Samuel L. Jackson says a bad word, and Maria Hill says, hey, Cap, he just said a bad swear word. And Cap says to Tony, did you tell everybody? It's great. It's great. But anyway, Avengers take the compound. Baron von Strucker says to the troops, "We are not going to surrender. Okay, we are going to fight until the end." And then he says to his number 2 guy, "I am going to surrender, but we are going to keep all of the technology for them, specifically the twins. And the twins have already left. They're already loosed on the world." And so, we have another one of those things that's woven into this pie that we would call Avengers Age of Ultron. And that is Quicksilver and Hawkeye. So Quicksilver runs by Hawkeye and he says, "You didn't see that coming?" Or was it Captain America? I don't know. I think it was Hawkeye. He says, "You didn't see that coming?" Hawkeye. And that's going to be a theme throughout the entire movie. And I love it because it evokes different emotions each time we see it. So I thought that was great. Of course, Captain says, "Hey, there's an enhanced in the field. He's really fast." And then when Captain goes to deal with Von Strucker, he meets Wanda, and she walks out in this demonic way that we see in horror movies, and Jordan loves it because he loves all horror movies.
It's so awesome, and in my opinion, we wouldn't get this creepy Wanda until Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and that's frustrating because it was like you were teasing something that was so cool, and we just never got that for years. I mean, it took the Darkhold for her to like be like that, but there is this like shot that in horror movies they end up doing where it's like really quick movements and then like a door shuts, or really quick movements, a door opens. And they do that in this, and it's so creepy every single time. And I love it. I think it's so cool. But yeah, I was a little let down in future films and projects that we never really got that Wanda really ever again. It's like, ooh, we got this creepiness until really Multiverse of Madness. That was the creepiest she got because Sam Raimi directed. Thank you, Sam Raimi, for directing that movie. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. Well, Cap, deals with Von Strucker, gets what he needs from him, and then we see Tony, and he's into this room with all of these Chitauri artifacts and the staff that Loki had that is equipped with the Mind Stone. And Wanda just has a little fun with Tony. She just plants this little seed, this vision in his head where all of his friends are dead. And Cap is like, "You could have saved us." And he dies. And of course, Tony's like, he feels guilty because he didn't die. He feels guilty because he's got a massive ego. He feels guilty because he's already been dealing with PTSD behind this. What a terrible person you are for Wanda. Wanda, you're a terrible person. Why would you do this? Why would you play on this man's fears and insecurities? And so she does this and leaves him be. And because of his fear, it's going to lead to other things. But the Avengers leave. Okay. And wait, do they leave? Wait, I'm trying to think where we are. Yeah, because they do leave. They do leave. And they take the Loki staff with them. And Tony says to Cap, "Hey, just need this for a couple of days." Okay. Or it may have been Thor. "Just need it for a couple of days, and then you can take it with you." And Thor agrees. But Clint is hurt in the field. And so Banner calls ahead to Helen Cho and says, "Hey, have the equipment ready. We got somebody that's injured in the field." And I believe someone comes on the ship and they say, "Hey, boss." And Tony says, "No, I'm not the boss. I just pay for everything and use my facilities or whatever." But he's acknowledging that right now Cap is in control and Cap is the boss. And this is interesting because I think this is the last time that this will be done, because there is conflict coming in later installments of the Avengers. But again, for now, they do the thing where they repair Hawkeye and he's all good. And I believe this machine can generate tissue, which is going to be very important later on in the movie. But anyway, Clint is repaired. He's as good as new. All is well. And Banner and Iron Man, which to me, they were my favorite in this movie just because of the way they interacted. And there were really some funny moments between the two. And he says, hey, what do you think about this? And he gives him a look at the sentient AI that is attached to the Mind Stone. And he says, it's AI, it's thinking, it's so-and-so, so-and-so. And he's like, well, let's say the aliens come back, and we know they will, and they roll up to the club. What if they couldn't get in? What if we built a shield around the world? And Banner's like, yeah, they wouldn't be able to get in. He's like, just give me 3 days, and let's see if we can build it. And so for the next 3 days, they work on Ultron. Okay? But it doesn't seem like it works, so they leave, and they go to the party. And what a great time they have at the party, Jordan. Let's talk about some favorite moments at this Avengers party, shall we? And I've been talking way too long. So give me your 2 or 3 favorite moments at the Avengers party that they're having. Because this is it, Jordan. They got the staff back. It's over, right? I mean, they can go home. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Give me your thoughts.
I love this scene so much. Like I said earlier, I mean, this is the one time where everybody's just having a good time. There's no fighting. It's just, it's peaceful. This is the only time we will get this with the Avengers. And I mean, my favorite scene is obviously the hammer scene, but I'll get to that. But just seeing like it's not just the core Avengers too, but like Steve brings Sam along, and Sam gets to see everybody. I mean, you have Natasha and Banner kind of getting their flirt on.
Fella done me wrong.
Yeah, and even though, look, when I first saw this movie, I was just like, I don't like them being together. But I'm not going to hate on that idea being presented in this film. Like, it's one of those. I've never. Everybody has an issue with it. Everybody has an issue. Just they're like, oh, Natasha and Banner shouldn't be together, and I'm just like, yeah, but like, I also just want to see it play out. That's how a lot of a lot of movie franchises will randomly see 2 characters get together for a little bit, and then they'll separate. That's what I expected here. I was like, yeah, whatever, it's gonna happen. I don't care this much. I mean, I think we see that presented with the lullaby at the beginning of the movie where she says sun's getting real low, which also I've never been the biggest fan of that. I'm just like, the Hulk is so savage, and only one woman and one person on this earth has ever been able to calm down the Hulk.
Betsy.
Yes.
Betsy Ross.
So that is where I was like, okay, all right. I guess not Wanda. I guess Natasha can do this too. I guess whatever. So yeah, that's interesting. But then obviously the hammer sequence. And Rhodey's there too. I forgot Rhodey joined.
Boom, looking for this.
Boom, looking for this. I love that. I love that it was Thor and Tony that were there, because I think if Steve were there, he'd be like, oh, that's a really interesting story, man. Like that's really cool. I think he would be trying to be really nice about it, but it's Tony and Thor.
He doesn't laugh a lot. Steve doesn't laugh a lot. He doesn't. You know what I mean?
So Tony and Thor, Thor still believes that he's above everyone else, and he makes that very abundantly clear later on when they confront Tony about Ultron, and says, you've been meddling, this is what you shouldn't be doing. You shouldn't be meddling with this stuff. You don't understand it. He is he's right, but there are also some lines of dialogue where it's like he's belittling Tony,
right?
And instead of looking at him as an equal,
right.
And then Tony, obviously is so egotistical, so he's just like, okay, whatever. So these were the to these
Most arrogant.
yes, of all the people that Rhodey could have told this story to,
Right.
don't tell these two.
Right.
You could have told anybody else but these two.
Because they're not going to relate. They're not going to think it's funny.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the hammer scene. So, I love.
No,
this
we got to talk about how he told the joke again to like regular people, and they all started laughing, and the look on his face was like,
yeah, he's like, yeah,
that's right. I got it.
Right.
I am funny. Damn it. That's the look he had on his face. That was funny. That you know, that's the one thing about Don Cheadle does micro expressions very well. Very, very good actor. Because he doesn't say it, but the look on his face is like, I knew I was funny. It wasn't me. It's them. I knew I wasn't tripping. This joke kills, damn it. I'm sorry, Jordan. Let's get okay to the all-important hammer scene. Because and one of the themes of Doomsday Hourglass, which is this series that we're doing, right? And Jordan, we've been rude because usually at the beginning of every presentation, we tell them about Doomsday Hourglass. We did not do that, Jordan. We failed in our commitment to do that. So it is incumbent upon you to tell them about Doomsday Hourglass and what this is, and then we'll get back to whatever the hell I was saying. You're just going to have to remind me because I'm probably going to forget. But go ahead, Jordan.
So the Doomsday Hourglass, obviously we're reviewing all of this stuff, and we refine the schedules to where when we get done, we will be done in time for Doomsday. So think of it like an hourglass. That's the sand is dropping. That's all the movies and shows that are just dropping down the hourglass. The hourglass is run out of sand, and by the time it's done, by the time that hourglass is all done, we will be at Doomsday. So
what was that soap opera that used to do that? It was Days of Our Lives, like Sands in the Hourglass. These are the days of our lives, and you have this blank look like you don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
I've never watched a soap opera in my entire life. Don't plan on it.
That used to be a soap opera. Okay. Well, let me tell you something, Jordan. Okay. Some of us used to be babysat by babysitters who watched soap operas all day, and you didn't have a choice. Okay. So yes, I did watch Young and the Restless and Guiding Light and Bold and the Beautiful, and they were great because I had to, Jordan. Okay. And I may or may not check up on them. I may or may not. I'm not confirming this. But anyway, go ahead. Hammer scene. Let's go.
Soap operas have the worst acting ever.
Stop it. You're a hater.
Oh yes, I am a hater. I would rather watch a musical or a western or a. I'd rather watch anything. In fact, that's the last thing on earth that I would ever watch. Is a soap opera.
You are a hater. There are some great performances.
I would rather watch Paint Dry.
Soap opera, sir. What? Oh my God! Whatever.
Actually, I have watched Paint Dry before, and yes, I would rather watch Paint Dry. Yeah. So the hammer scene. So all right, it starts with Thor puts his hammer down on the table, and Hawkeye's like, "It's a trick." And he makes fun of Thor with this, like, "Oh, so whoever be worthy will haveth the power." And he's like, "Whatever, man.
Whatever, man.
Whatever, man. It's a trick." Yeah. And I love that Thor's like, "Be my guest," and because that's a level of confidence that he has. He's like, "No way," and. I love Jeremy Renner's a great actor. I love him in comedies so much. The movie Tag, I love him in that.
Oh, he was great in Tag. He was
so good in Tag. But because in this moment you see his comedy come out, because it doesn't come out often as Hawkeye. It doesn't really need to. He's a very serious character. So when he goes to pull it up, he's like, "How do you do it?" He's like, I don't understand. And then we go to like the Hulk or Tony comes in to do it.
If I am chosen, if I lift this hammer, I'm King of Asgard. Yes, I will be reenacting Prima Nocta. That's one of my favorite lines. And if you know what Prima Nocta is, you know why. Anyway, go ahead, Jordan. Sorry.
So Tony tries to pull up the hammer and adjust with just himself, and he's like, hang on 1 second. And he tries to put on the Iron Man and glove to pull it up, and uses like literally like rockets from the glove to pull it up. Then Rhodey gets involved too, and he's like, "Are you even?" Tony's like, "Are you even pulling?" Or Rhodey's like, "Are you even pulling? Represent, pull." And then Banner comes in. Banner goes. Then he tries to fake everyone out, saying like getting angry and stuff, and not a single person is fooled by it.
Not funny.
It was not funny.
And because when I first saw it, I was like, "Oh shit!" It was not funny. It was not funny at all.
Anyway, I knew he was joking the first time I saw it. I was like, "There's no way he's not gonna Hulk out." And then finally, Steve Rogers comes in, and he rolls up his sleeves, and he tries to lift it up, and there's a squeak, and you see Thor's face. You ever see that GIF where the guy's trying to drink water and it's shaking? And
it's
the same. It's the same. It's like, oh God, oh no, oh no. You see it in his eyes. There's so much fear. He goes pale, and then Steve. He keeps trying but can't lift it up, and he's like, "All right, that's it." And then Thor's face is like, "Yeah." but it's again, it's that meme where it's like the smiling face, but behind the smiling face is like the sad face and the angry face. Yeah, it's like no. So, a lot of people question could Steve have lifted the hammer up in this scene?
Right.
He, according to both the Russo brothers and Kevin Feige, no. And the reason is, by this time, he knows that Bucky killed Tony's parents. And the only thing holding Steve back in this moment is the fact that he is holding this secret from Tony. And he's basically living this lie that gets revealed in Civil War. So when he tells Tony that, yeah, he knew in Civil War, from that moment on, Steve was worthy. Steve could have lifted the hammer at the end of Civil War. He could have lifted the hammer in Infinity War. He could have lifted the hammer in Endgame. He was worthy after that. So in that moment, no, he couldn't have lifted the hammer. But had he told Tony and lifted the hammer, yeah, he would have been able to, because he would have been worthy. Yeah. So, and in my opinion, only one other Avenger I think had a chance of being worthy, and that was actually, I will say two. There's two Avengers that could have been worthy, but at very small moments in time. I think Tony would have been worthy in Endgame, at the end of Endgame when he has the stones, because I mean, we see throughout this saga that like Tony ends up being the root cause of a lot of the problems in Civil War. He's the reason the Avengers aren't together in Infinity War. And he finally finds peace, though, after the 5-year jump in Endgame, and he finds that peace that he was looking for. And then when he realizes that he needs to sacrifice himself, from that moment forward, he was worthy. And then the other one is Natasha. I think Natasha would have been worthy in that final scene for her in Endgame, because she's just like, it's okay. Like, she tells Clint, like, it's okay, you can let me go. Like, in that moment, like when she was willing to sacrifice herself for her family, like this is her family.
Right.
She was worthy, because she had nothing else to prove. So in that moment, Natasha would have been worthy. But I think those are the only, outside of Thor, those are the only other Avengers that I think are worthy at this moment.
I think a core theme is worthiness for this film. Mm-hmm. I really do. The more I think about it, Ultron tries to make them feel unworthy by weaponizing it and using it as doubt and calling them puppets and monsters and destroyers. But ultimately, I think there's an argument that could be made that, heroes are not defined by perfection, but by their choice to keep fighting for humanity. And we see that when Hawkeye is talking to Wanda, and he's like, The city is flying. The city is flying, and I have a bow and arrow. And I know
None of this makes sense.
none of this makes
I
sense.
love that scene so much.
But if you go out here, look, if you want to stay here, it's fine. But if you go out here, it doesn't matter what you did, you're an Avenger. In other words, if you go out here, you're worthy. If you make that decision to come out here, I'm okay with it either way. But I think a part of this is worthiness. A theme that's not talked about in this movie is worthiness. You got something. What you got?
No, when we get to that scene, I have a lot to talk about in that scene. But when we get to that, we'll get to that.
But let's talk about it now, brother. We don't have to follow
I mean,
script. Let's go.
I love
in the moment. In the moment, said, "Do it." Let's go, Jordan.
So all right, for me, I always viewed Clint as like this, Hawkeye as this like it felt like almost like an outside Avenger up to this point, probably because he was that in the first Avengers film. But seeing his family in this, and then the pep talk that he gives Wanda is like, it got me hyped the first time I saw it in theaters. I was like, when he's like, the sky is falling, and he had to double down on it and say, the sky is falling. I have a bow and arrow.
No,
none of this makes.
The city is flying.
The city is flying. The city is flying.
Right? It's funny. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I have a bow and arrow. None of this makes sense. And he's so blunt about it. And he's like, but I have a job to do. Right. This is my job.
Right. Right.
I'm going to go out those doors and I'm going to fight. You can stay in here and be safe. It's okay. No one will hold that against you. But you walk out of those doors and you're an Avenger. That got me so hyped. I wanted to stand on my seat and be like, yes, I love this. This is exactly what I love about the Avengers, is that it's not an exclusive club. This is why I think people in general like the Avengers more than they like the current state of Justice League. Justice League isn't really accepting of just members, of anybody. It's like a membership only. And there are times throughout the Avengers they kind of make it exclusive. Mainly it's anyone who knows Tony. Because it's only Spider-Man, it seems like. Spider-Man's always the one where it's like, am I Avenger now? And Tony's like, no. I think it's just his hidden joke. I think Spider-Man has always been an Avenger. It's just like, he's like, all right, kid, you're an Avenger now. But in this, it's like, it's not about whether you're a part of the team or not. It's whether you want to help people or not. Right. That's what makes the Avengers so relatable.
Right.
And that pep talk gets me so hyped, and it gets Wanda pumped. Like, she walks out of those doors, she's like, I don't care, magic this, magic that, and then really quickly, this is another scene that makes me bust out laughing every time. When Quicksilver grabs Wanda and runs away with her, and he's like, keep up, old man, and Hawkeye pulls back his bow. He's like,
nobody would know.
Nobody would know.
Nobody would know.
And he's like,
no. What's funny is the tension. He's like, he said, nobody. Ooh, no. Because here's the thing. He's had enough of Quicksilver. Because Quicksilver has been doing that all damn day. You didn't see that coming? What? Just messing with him. Just knocking him over. Remember when Wanda did the thing where she tried to trick his mind, or Jedi mind trick, when he was like, not today, I've had that, I'm not a fan, and he sticks that arrow on her head, and then so he knocks him into the glass or something. So he's basically been knocking around Hawkeye all day, and Hawkeye's had enough, and he's like, nobody would. That's what made it funny, because it's like, nobody would know. Nobody would know.
And then he keeps going with it. It's not that he stops there, he keeps going with it. He's like, last time I saw him, Ultron was sitting on him. But yeah, he'll be missed. That quick little bastard. I missed him already. He just keeps going with the whole thing. And it's so funny. The whole entire thing is just hilarious. Again, Jeremy Renner showing his comedy. When Jeremy Renner shows his comedy and things, even in it does it a little bit in Civil War, or when he's like, or Vision's like, I thought you were retired. And he's like, yeah, I thought I was too. Like, it's so funny. He is really funny. In my opinion, he's probably the funniest Avenger because he's the most relatable. People are gonna say Tony, but I find Jeremy Renner funnier just because, again, relatability. Because, like I said, when he's like, last time I saw him, Ultron was sitting on him, and he missed that quick little bastard. I miss him already. Like, it's so funny. But yeah, I love that whole scene so much, and it makes me really like Hawkeye that much more.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Hulkbuster, man. Let's talk about Hulk versus Hulkbuster. I know when I heard that this was going to be in this film, I was super excited, and it did not disappoint. It did not disappoint. I mean, it's a quick little scene, but it was great. Like Tony calls for Veronica, and the cell comes down around the Hulk, and of course he breaks free by going underneath it underground and comes out. And he and Tony go after it, and Tony's like, Bruce, that witch is messing with your mind. You're smarter than her. You're stronger than her. And when he hears Banner, he picks up a card. He's like, oh yeah, you're right. You hate Banner. And then they get after it. And it's funny because when he's hitting him, he's like, go to sleep, 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 go to sleep. And then they're fighting each other, and then Banner throws him on the ground and hits him from the back, and he paused, and he's like, Dick, move, Banner. Gosh. And then he turns around, right? And then his arm is damaged with whatever Bruce hit him with or whatever. And the arm breaks off, and he's like, Veronica, give me a hand. And Veronica sends him another arm. And they coordinated this very well. As the Hulk is running towards him, he's firing this ray to just slow the Hulk down. And by the time the Hulk gets to him, the arm is in place, and he smashes him with it, right? And they keep fighting. And then I think Tony knocks out one of Bruce's back teeth, and Tony goes, sorry. And it's almost a cartoon moment. Like, what is going to follow. And then we see Hulk dragging him, because now Hulk is bad. Hulk is really bad. And you see Hulk dragging him up these floors. And it was great, man. And then, like, he's flying over this building. It's a last-ditch effort. And he says to Jarvis, how quickly can we buy that building? Okay, so they buy the building, throws Hulk down through the vortex through the center of this building. Everything goes crashing down upon him. And then you see the Hulk wake up, and he's no longer in the trance. And he realizes, oh my God, what happened? But he sees the fear on the crowd. He sees the fear in their faces. And just as he's about to get angry again, Tony goes, wham! What a scene, man. What a scene. What a battle. Let's talk about it, brother. What you got?
So what's great about this scene, and I thought when I was two things. One, when I first saw the trailer and I saw the Hulkbuster, honestly, I was disappointed that I saw the Hulkbuster in the trailer. That was something I wanted to see, like
a surprise.
Yes, I wanted that to be a surprise. There's certain things in Avengers trailers, like that's what I loved about the Endgame trailer so much, is it didn't show too much. Right. And that's what I loved about the Infinity War trailer, is that it really didn't show that much. And all the dialogue in the trailers, the first like 5 minutes of the movie from Thanos, literally the opening monologue from Thanos is in the trailer for Infinity War.
Right.
I didn't want to see it in the trailer. But I love the Hulk. I mean, I had a Hulkbuster action figure when I was younger, but obviously not Age of Ultron. This was like an old, like, cartoon action figure of the Hulkbuster. Another thing is Joss Whedon wanted Grey Hulk to be in this scene. He wanted Wanda to play around with his mind. He wanted the Hulk to go gray. Now, in the comics, the original version of the Hulk was gray. The Gray Hulk is considered to be a more savage Hulk. The rumor right now is that we might be getting Gray Hulk in Spider-Man Brand New Day, which would be very intriguing. because I have no idea how that's going to even play out. So there, yeah, Joss Whedon wanted it, Grey Hulk in it. Kevin Feige said no, that they wouldn't understand it, that the audiences wouldn't understand it because they didn't watch the, they didn't read the comics, and it didn't matter. What they ended up doing was just desaturating the Hulk's like skin color in this scene, so it's not gray; it's just a very pale green.
Right.
And this whole fight scene is so incredible. It's just you're mashing action figures. That's what it felt like. And one thing to note about when Tony drops Hulk onto that building, first thing he says, is there anybody in this building?
Yeah.
And he says no. And when he drops Banner and shoots the missiles, the way he shoots the missiles is so that the building implodes on itself instead of exploding outward and possibly hurting others.
Hurting other people. Okay.
So that's his his issues that he's had in previous movies. He's realizing like, okay, I have to keep people safe. So that's why he ends up doing it that way. All very intriguing. I didn't realize that until years later, until after Civil War had come out. So this whole fight scene is just so fun. It's so awesome. And I love that it's Wanda behind all of this, and Ultron at this entire time. Ultron and Tony are fighting and stuff like that. And Ultron's just trying to get Tony away from the whole thing, and he's like, you're going to have to keep up with Banner before that version of Ultron ends up getting destroyed.
That's awesome. That's an awesome scene, man. That is an awesome scene. So they're on the plane. They've all taken a hit. Wanda had her thing with the Red Room. Of course, Thor, saw all of Asgardian citizens and his best friend Heimdall, and Heimdall was like, "You're leading us to hell," with the eyes. I like the line, "You're leading us to hell." Anyway, and Cap saw, his boo thing. It's like we could have had something. You know what I mean? And who am I leaving out? Oh yeah, she didn't get Hawkeye with that, and then of course you got the Hulk. So they're all kind of bummed out.
That's one thing that Jeremy Renner said. He's like, whatever you do, I understand Wanda is in this movie. Do not mind control me, because I will quit. That is what Jeremy Renner said. And you know what? I don't blame him, because he was left out of the first Avengers movie. I don't blame him.
Yeah.
And so I completely support. And honestly, I like that that's what happens in this.
Yeah.
Because everybody else gets mind controlled, and it sort of makes up for the fact that that Hawkeye was the one being mind controlled in the first Avengers movie. Yeah. So I like that.
Yeah, I do too. You're 100% right. I do too. But they're all, upset, and Tony calls Maria Hill, and she's like, "Yeah, you probably want to stay away." They haven't said that Bruce's going to be arrested, but it's in the air. You probably just want to stay away. And she says the press is loving you guys. Nobody else is, but And so they go to Hawkeye's farm, right? And they meet Hawkeye's family. And Tony says, I would have called, but I was busy never knowing you existed. Okay. And it's funny because there are a lot of things that go on in this scene. So Cap kind of stands at the doorway and looks at it as if, he doesn't want to come in because he's thinking, I'm never going to have this. Right. Thor walks in and steps on a Lego and crushes it because he's Thor. And, Hawkeye's precious little angel, his daughter, walks up to Thor, and Thor walks out. I don't know why, but she's looking at Thor like, wow. And but we get to meet Clint's family, and it's funny because we see Clint and his wife talking, and his wife says, "So how long has Natasha and Bruce been going on?" And he says, "What?" And she says, "You're so cute. We'll talk about it when you get older."
I love Linda Cardellini. Linda Cardellini, who plays his wife, is incredible. I love her in everything. She's in Scooby-Doo. She plays Velma, Velma.
She did play
She-
Velma. That's right.
She's in the Conjuring franchise. She's in The Curse of La Llorona. She's in Daddy's Home with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg.
That show with what's her name on Netflix? Samantha, what's her name? That was on the Al Bundy show, Married with Children, about the lady whose husband died. Anyway, she's in that show.
But she's so, I love her in so many different projects, and when I was like, hey, I love her, she's awesome. So yeah, I was so happy to see her as.
Dude, she dropped a bar though. She said, "We'll talk about it when you get older." Hawkeye. No, she ended it with Hawkeye. Like, that's ironic. How did you miss this, right? No, so yeah, she was. Oh man,
and I love Tony's like, oh, so they're agents, and he's like, and he sees the kids come in, and he's like, and they're smaller agents, which is what makes it so. When Ultron earlier in the movie says, he's talking to Wanda,
right?
Yeah, he's like, smaller people, children. That's what it is.
Children,
because it was so obvious, and I've seen people review the movie, and they're like, how come Ultron can't, like, has no idea what children are? He's an AI. And it's like, there's a level of false comedy that an AI creates, and his personality is based off of Tony.
Right.
So clearly this is something Tony would do.
Correct. I still keep butchering that line. Make your friends rich and your enemies rich, and wait around to see which is which. That's it.
Yes.
That's it. It only took me an hour and 6 minutes to remember. See that, Kim? I know you do. She's not here, so I'm talking trash.
Don't yell at Kim.
I'm not yelling at Kim. Kim's not here, and I'm not bold enough to do it while she is.
Kim's gonna backhand you right across the head.
Which is why I'm doing it when she's not here. Anyway, but Hawkeye's wife is great because she's like, I support your avenging, which is hilarious, right? Because that's something my wife would say. I support your avenging, but you got to remember to take the trash out. Like, that's something she would say. That's 100% something she would say. I support your avenging, honey. But I mean, when I look at these guys, these gods, and he goes, what? They don't need me? And she goes, no, I think they do need you, which is even more scary. And, we're going to be outnumbered, and we just need to know if they have your back. You know what I mean? But I like the dialogue between those two, and she's hilarious. Of course, Cap and Tony have their conversation, and we start to see the rift starting up a little bit because Cap is saying, well, you could have told us. And he was like, basically, I didn't. Well, he says earlier when he's talking to Bruce, I don't have time for the man is not meant to medley. But for me, this is kind of foreshadowing as to the conflict that is to come with Civil War. Because remember, Tony goes ahead and agrees with their terms to say, hey, we need to be put in check. And Cap is like, not so fast. But Tony went ahead and made the decision to do it just like he does here. You know what I mean? And Cap says to him, anytime, and I'm going to butcher the line, but anytime people try and start to win wars before they start, bad things happen or people die or something like that. And they're having a disagreement. And, during the course of the agreement, Cap gets pissed off and rips up a tree trunk. And Hawkeye's wife comes up and says, hey, I'm sorry, but could you go and take a look at the tractor? It's been, it's been really giving us a problem.
The one thing about this scene, real quick, they showed this scene. This is the first scene ever shown to the public during Comic-Con when they were showing. When Kevin Feige was showing a scene, he said he wanted to show everyone a scene from Avengers: Age of Ultron. They showed this scene, and during this Comic-Con, this is considered to be one of the greatest Comic-Cons ever. This video has millions and millions of views on YouTube. because this is when they show that they're doing Captain America Civil War. This is when they show Infinity War and Endgame. Well, at this time, they didn't say Endgame. At this point, they were saying Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2. And at this point, what had been known is that the third Captain America movie was going to be called Captain America Serpent Society, which would have featured a group called the Serpent Society. As for what the details of that would have been, it is unknown. But Kevin Feige, during this video, he looks up and he's like, I don't really know about that name. And that's when he reveals to everyone that the movie changed to Captain America Civil War. And again, before he showed this, he showed that scene from Age of Ultron, which was the first scene shown to the public. While that's a great way of showing Civil War in that moment, I don't like that was the first scene shown to the public, because it clearly shows that they're going to set up like this scene based off what we saw in the first Avengers movie already. Like when I saw Tony and Cap going face to face, I was like, I know we're going to get Civil War probably eventually.
Yeah.
But this scene in this movie only confirmed that for me, that we were going to get Civil War.
Yeah, no, that's true. And, of course, who shows up but Nick Fury? And he assuages Tony's guilt, saying, Tony, you're many things, but you didn't create war. It happened long before you were born. It's going to go on after you die. It's okay, Tony. In other words, don't take yourself that seriously. You were upset because your friends died and you didn't. And, Nick Fury kind of rallies the troops and he says, before I had all this technology, now I just have you guys and we have nothing to beat him but our will. And he talks about the fact that Ultron has been trying to get the nuclear codes, but somebody's been stopping them and they don't know who. And Tony goes to the hub, pause. The main hub for the internet. It's not what you're thinking, dirty mind. It's the main hub for the stop it, pause. It's the main hub.
No, I was trying to think of the name of the place, but you keep doubling down on what you're saying.
I keep thinking people are going to be thinking it's that hub.
No, stop it. All right, let me add something really quick. All right, about the scene with Samuel Jackson, because I keep coming back to this when I see stuff for Avengers Doomsday. Tony says, as he talks about the dream that he had to Nick Fury, and he says, and I'm the person who killed the Avengers. That feels like something that we are going to be definitely circling back to in Doomsday.
Oh,
that just feels
right.
Feels
so right.
Because Dr. Doom isn't Tony. He is Victor Von Doom. But that feels like he might say that line of dialogue or something. Or that might be hinted back at some point. That just. It feels like something we are definitely going to be circling back to.
I had to give you an applause on that one, buddy. Go ahead. Wow, that's good. That's pretty good. That was, you know what? You're 100% right. I didn't even think about it.
First time I've heard you do a soundboard before.
I was saving it for the right moment. I was saving it for the right moment. I'm trying to move on from the hub. Anyway, pause. So
stop doubling down on it.
So anyway, what makes it funny is he goes to the library where the thing is, and he's talking to her, and he's talking to this lady, and she's like, well, how will you know? How will you get this entity to come to you? And he goes, I'm going to use a magnet. And then he starts singing, oh, I'm searching for nuclear codes and you don't want me to. And that's just Tony. It was hilarious. I thought it was funny. Maybe you didn't, but I thought that scene was hilarious. I really liked it. And yeah. So anyway, that's the only thing I can remember from that scene.
Oh,
was pretty good.
Another addition to Samuel Jackson, which, all right, this is something that has always bothered me. This has just always annoyed me. Ever since Captain Marvel. Again, I go back to Captain Marvel. I don't like that movie at all. In that movie, it's just a stupid little line of dialogue. There's so many stupid little lines of dialogue that ultimately affect the landscape of Marvel in Captain Marvel. Like his eye getting cut and stuff like that. It's so stupid. In that movie, when they're in the restaurant, Samuel Jackson, Nick Fury says, "I won't eat a sandwich if it's cut unless it's cut diagonally." Guess what he's doing in this scene?
He's
eating a sandwich cut horizontally.
Oh, you're right. Sorry, I knew what you meant. Sorry, my bad.
He's eating a sandwich horizontally or vertically, however you want to be looking at it, not diagonally. I don't remember how it is, but in this scene, he's doing exactly what he says he doesn't do from Captain Marvel. And some people are like, oh, it's just showing growth and stuff like that. I'm like, shut your face, bro. I don't care.
Shut it right now.
No, this is just so stupid. And it creates continuity issues. Like, is this Samuel L. Jackson or is this a Skrull? That's one thing I've always questioned. Is this a Skrull?
I think about that.
Yeah, I've thought about that ever since Captain Marvel came out. I'm like, is that a Skrull? Like, at some point, I'm like, could these characters have been Skrulls at some points? I don't know.
Yeah. Wow. So we got to take a step back because we got to talk about one of my favorite scenes, and that is when Ultron gets out and they're talking about it the next day. And Thor comes back and they're talking about it, and Tony just starts laughing, and Bruce is like, no. Every time I watch it, it's funny because he's like, it's not funny, really? It's not? You can see Tony like, it's not like, this is something I would normally laugh at when people aren't around, but people are around. It's not funny, kind of, no. And Bruce is like, not right now, Tony, not right now. And then they get into it, and he's like, well, you were such and such, such and such. And he was like, and we created a murder bot, right? Mm-hmm. And that's when Thor's like, you were doing things that you didn't understand with technology, blah, 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 blah. But it's funny because we see that Bruce Banner at his core, because of his hulkdom, because of his hulkiness, I know they're not words, but because he is the Hulk, there is a part of his personality that has become a conformist because he doesn't want to argue, because he doesn't want to push it, because he doesn't want himself to get angry. And so he tries to keep things calm. And Tony says, right when there's conflict, you just roll over and show him your underbelly. But his point is, guys, I don't know if I brought this up, but I was the one who dropped the bomb on the Chitauri or whatever in New York. You guys remember that? And they're like, no, it's never come up. And he's like, look, it was right here. It was 300 feet up above. Okay, guys, this is the end game. Okay, This is what this is about. We can prosecute drug dealers all the live long day, but this is what this is about. And you're about to get into a revelation that he dropped there, sir. Let's go right ahead. What you got?
He says it right there. He says it right there. Right. That's the end game.
Right.
And I mean, when he says that, I'm like, at that point, that line of dialogue just went over my head when I first seen it. The moment I realized the fourth Avengers movie needed to be called Avengers Endgame was when Doctor Strange says we're in the Endgame now, because it was a line of dialogue that, like, it felt so specific,
right,
and, like, natural, that I was like, the next movie has to be called Endgame.
Right.
And everybody else at the internet knew this movie needed to be called Avengers Endgame.
Right.
There's no doubt in anyone's mind.
Right.
You know, there were some people saying Avengers like Annihilation or Avengers Extinction, stuff like that, but no, those didn't work. But yeah, then Tony goes to Cap, and this is what I love about Cap, because he gets me hyped every time he speaks. He's like, Tony says, like, how would you suppose we were gonna fight, or something like that. And and Steve said we were going to do this together.
Yeah.
And Tony comes back at that saying we could lose. And Steve doubles down on it and says, we'll do that together too.
Yeah.
Man, it gets me hyped. This dude,
Yeah.
I would run through a wall for Steve.
Oh, let me tell you something, Steve. I want Steve to be my football coach. You're 100% right. We'd be Eric. Shout out to you. We'd be 17-0 every year if Captain America was the coach of the Falcons.
I don't think
Cap
was going to be one to help that.
Don't you say a word. You better not.
Cap could help.
Captain America was the coach of the Falcons. We'd be 17-0 every year.
I don't think Zeus could have helped you out.
Oh wow, that is. You know what? That is unnecessary roughness. That is 15. I cannot believe you. You know what? That is what you get, sir. That's just foul. That's foul and cruel, unusual punishment.
Bruce Lee gonna show up?
Oh wow. You are doing way too much now, buddy. Way too much.
Enter the Dragon?
Whatever. It did sound like Enter the Dragon, though, didn't it? It did a little bit. It did. Let's get to the creation of Vision. So ultimately, Ultron decides, you know what? We're gonna have to evolve. So I'm gonna put my consciousness or a consciousness in this AI, and this is the evolution of man. And this is his plan. Okay. And whilst they are in the process of doing this, Vision being organic matter, Wanda goes over to the device and touches it and reads Ultron's thoughts, and she discovers he wants to destroy the Earth. He wants to destroy everybody. And she's like, I thought you just wanted to kill the Avengers. You want to kill everybody. And he's like, well, I mean, the dinosaurs had at least 6 or 7 world-ending events before they got theirs. When the Earth shifts, God normally tosses a stone, and believe you me, he's warming up. And it's like,
again, the dialogue from Ultron is incredible.
It was great.
Incredible.
It was great. And then she leaves, and he's like, oh no, and then he kills everybody. All the staff. That's the funny thing about him. He's like, don't leave. Oh wait, boom, 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 and he kills everybody. And Captain America, I think Helen Cho was the doctor that was helping to put his consciousness into the Vision. And Cap gets there, and she tells him about the Mind Stone and how it can't be destroyed, and yada yada yada. And we have the conflict where the Avengers are chasing Ultron in the streets. And it is great, Jordan. It is great action. We get to see Wanda on her motorcycle. She cracks the line. I always have to pick up for you boys. And she picks up his shield and gives it back to Cap. And Cap's taking on Ultron. And during the fight, Hawkeye, being a realist, says, yeah, you're not going to win that one, Cap. And he's like, thanks. Okay, thanks. Whatever. I'm doing the best I can. And, some kind of way Wanda ends up on the ship. No, she ends up with the body, with Vision's body. And she's like, hey, I'm going to need you to come get me, Hawkeye. And, of course, Ultron's bots are flying the cab on the truck, which seems a little convenient, almost like a plot device, but whatever. Hawkeye aligns the ship perfectly. And Ultron is busy being distracted by Captain America and Wanda and Pietro. Wanda and Pietro have switched sides since they find out that Ultron wants to, blow up the world. And so the Avengers are able to procure Vision's body, but Ultron takes Wanda and leaves and goes to Sokovia. And the Avengers, Hawkeye gets the body back to the headquarters, and Hulk and or Banner and Tony are now trying to. Well, no, I'm sorry. I got to take a step back because now we have the second decision with Tony and Bruce. And let me tell you something. Tony's a salesman because he's got to convince Bruce to do the very same thing that they just did with Ultron, but do it with Jarvis. And it's funny because he's like, wait a minute, you're trying to get me to help you put this consciousness in this thing? And Tony's like, no, I'm trying to get you to help me help you. you put this into? Because biologics is not my field. Again, another great line. And Jarvis is like, I think it'll work. I think it'll do it. And da 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 da. And
I think it's worth the go.
I think it's worth a go. And Bruce is like, we've been here before. Deja vu. But he agrees to do it. And they're in the process of doing it. And then all of a sudden, Captain America shows up and Wanda, and they're trying to stop him. And here comes Speedy Quicksilver, who, just acts first and thinks later. And, does his thing around the headquarters and unplugs all the electricity and says, I'm sorry, what were you saying? It's kind of pissed me off for a minute, but I kind of like it because he's the perfect mix of cocky, yet results driven, yet kind of likable. So I didn't hate him in that moment. I just didn't like it, but I understood what he was doing. But anyway, Thor shows up and provides all the electricity needed and brings the hammer down literally and shocks Vision into existence. And voila, we have the Vision.
And one of the most forgettable, important scenes of this whole movie is after Thor leaves Clint's farm, he goes to try and I mean, we don't really fully know why or where he specifically was going. He was just looking for answers. And he just leaves. And I don't like that he leaves, but he was searching for answers and he finds out about the Infinity Stones in this moment.
Are you talking about the whole when he goes to the scientist that was with him in Thor and they go to that?
He goes to Eric Selvig and Eric helps him.
The Dream Water.
Go into the Dream Water and he sees the vision of Vision and the Infinity Stones. And in that moment, this is the moment going forward that is so crucial for all of the Infinity Saga, for setting up Infinity War and Endgame, that is the Endgame. The Infinity Stones are the Endgame of this saga. It is at this moment that we realize there's a bigger picture at play for the MCU. And Thor explains that to the Avengers in this moment when he brings Vision to life and saying, I had a dream. And at the center of this dream was this is the Mind Stone. This is one of the Infinity Stones. And it's so important. And this is where this part just felt like there was a little bit too much added to this film. Because there's so much at play with like Wanda and Pietro, with the Infinity Stones, with Ultron, with Wanda, with Natasha and Banner's relationship, with Thor going off and doing his own thing, and Vision / and Sokovia, and there's so much at play with this movie, and there is a lot going on, and that's why this scene feels overshadowed, overlooked, even though it is so crucial to the rest of the saga.
Maybe they wanted it to be that way, though, right? Because there's a bit of mystery and surprise when it does happen. Because I completely missed it. Missed it the first time.
So this scene was the apparent headache of Kevin Feige and Joss Whedon. The reason why Joss Whedon ended up not going and doing any further projects and dropping out, even though he's offered to do Avengers 3, he dropped out of that. So apparently, Joss Whedon wanted Tom Hiddleston to be in the vision of in this vision that Thor was seeing, and it was to the point they recorded it with Tom Hiddleston, and I'm sure it's out there somewhere. And they gave it to test audiences, but the issue was test audiences saw the scene where Tom Hiddleston as Loki was there, and they all assumed that seeing this meant Loki was behind all the events of Ultron.
Okay, I got you.
And so it confused people. And Kevin Feige pushed for the scene so much because he wanted to set up the Infinity Stones. There was just so much conflicting reports in making the scene that it just felt like they were pushing just the scene to happen rather than naturally getting to the scene in general.
Okay. All right. Well, that's interesting. I did not know that. Okay. So we have Vision come to life, and Vision, they're like, well, whose side are you on? And he was like, I'm on the side of life. And Ultron is not. Ultron wants to, he's in pain, but ultimately he wants to destroy everything. I'm on the side of life. And he says, who are you? And he says, I'm not the Infinity Stone. I'm not Jarvis. I am. I just am. You know what I mean? And it's funny because looking back on that now, I think they were laying the groundwork for the Mind Stone less Vision.
Yes.
Because he says, I'm not the Stone. I'm not Jarvis. Meaning, I can go on and live without this. I think that's what they were, which is why we will probably see Vision again. Mm-hmm. Because of that there. But the whole thing, the coup de grace of the whole thing is when he's like, all right, well, let's go. And he picks up the hammer, showing that he's worthy. And nothing else that he said mattered at that point because they're all looking like, you gotta be kidding me. And it's great. It's genius that they do this because remember, they were all trying to pick up the hammer at the party. Yes. So their souls, when they see him pick up this hammer, whether or not they admit it, whether or not they even say it, this is the moment that seals it for them. And Cap says, hey, you got 3 minutes. You know what I mean? And then, as we become accustomed to, in an Avengers movie, we get a Cap speech. You know, look, the people of Sokovia want peace. They're not going to get it today. Let's make sure that we get them off the streets. You know what I mean? Let's make sure that we do X, Y, and Z. Let me tell you something. Cap gives the greatest speeches ever. There's even one when they're fighting, and he's like, look, guys, you know, this is going to be tough. So, you know, if they hit you, if they hurt you, hurt them back. If you get killed, walk it off.
Walk it off. That is crazy. I always find that to be his craziest speech because I'm like, that's just the most diabolical thing you could have said in that moment.
No, man, that was great. But let's talk about this final battle, man. You know, they go to Sokovia. It's going down. The clique is here. You got Vision. You got Wanda. You know what I mean? You got all the Avengers going at it against Ultron, and it is an epic fight. And the Avengers strike first as Vision comes upon him, and Ultron says, they've taken everything from me. My Vision. They've taken everything from me. And Vision burns him out of the internet. And this is basically 70% of the battle because now he's in physical form. So if you kill all of these robots, that's it, right? And they get after it, and the conflict ensues, and it is great. But my favorite part is when Tony says, Avengers, it's time to work for a living. And they all go to the core, and he's like, hey, this is the ball game here. If he gets this, this is over. And it feels like a fourth down stand.
Yes.
It feels like we're in the Super Bowl, Jordan, and the Falcons are playing the Patriots for the second time. Okay? Hate you, Patriots. And it's 4th and goal on the 1-inch line. And the Falcons make a 4th down stand to win the Super Bowl. It is glorious.
It almost feels like it's overtime. It's 28-28. And someone's got the ball in overtime.
Let me cut his mic off. Let me mute him. I don't know. I don't want to.
James White scores a touchdown.
Oh my God, I rebuke you. So anyway, but there are thousands of Ultron robots going against 12 Avengers, and the Avengers are dismantling them one by one in this cacophony of violence, in this symphony of discord. And it is beautiful, and it's done in slow motion. And, you know, everything looks better in slow motion. And the big bad Ultron robot comes up against Vision, and Vision hits him with the ray and pushes him outside, and then Tony joins him, and then I think somebody else joined him, and they you know, basically whack him, and the remaining robots start running. And again, we have another funny moment because War Machine shows up and he's like, wait a minute, I didn't tell you could leave. And he starts killing robots. And then all of a sudden we see Vision just dismantling robots. And Vision goes, what? And it's funny. Just the reaction on his face. It's like, we got another one? Like, who the hell is this guy? Like, why are we adding all these people? And what's going on? And how the hell did he do that? That was funny to me. And of course, Ultron being Ultron. Oh my God, I really hated this guy. Of course, he has to go and procure a plane and come back and fire it and try and kill the remaining people that are, which made no sense because he could have gotten away, or he could have at least tried to get away. But no, he's got to go and fire on people and kill as many as he can before he leaves. And we have a moment. And Hawkeye is going out to get this little Sokovian kid and bring him back to the ship, and he sees his life pass before him as he sees the bullets are lining up to where he is, and he closes his eyes, accepts his fate. But wait a minute, all of a sudden, he's transported out of the way of danger, and we see Pietro Quicksilver say to him, you didn't see that coming? And then he falls and dies. And wow, Jordan, what a moment. Because at that very moment, Wanda, being his twin, feels it. She doesn't see it, but she feels it. And she knows that he has just died. And she goes the F off, which again is kind of a precursor for Doctor Strange, Mountain of Madness, or whatever the sequel was called. But she kills all the robots. And she goes, I guess she finds one of the last robots on the train or whatever, and rips his, I don't know what's considered his heart. I mean, it was a bit much. He's a robot. He's not going to have a heart. But she rips out this component and she's like, this is how I feel. And all of a sudden, the last remaining robot with a little bit of charge left presses the button, and Sokovia begins to descend down towards Earth as though they're trying to destroy it. Tony has worked out what the resolve is to resolve the issue, or what the resolution is to fix it. And so he cuts a hole in the bottom of, I don't know, whatever that contraption is, begins to fire at it. Thor up top uses his thunder to shock it, causing an explosion, and it explodes everywhere. And by the way, all the people get off on the helicarrier that Nick Fury just shows up in, and all of them are on. And of course, the remains of Sokovia begin to descend upon the Earth, hitting this whatever body of water that Tony is flying over and under. It's a great scene. It's awesome. It's awesome to see. And then, we see that Vision comes to save Wanda, which is kind of a foreshadowing for their relationship and how it's going to be. And they actually do date in the comics, so it's on brand. But once he brings Wanda to safety, he tracks down the last Ultron robot. And they have a moment, and this again is one of my favorite scenes in the movie. This scene right here is where he says to Hawkeye, you didn't see that coming. But it's one of my favorite scenes in the movie where Vision and Ultron are talking about humanity. And he says, they're this, they're fickle, they're this, they're doomed. And Vision says, yeah, but a thing is not beautiful because it lasts. I think you missed that. And Ultron says, you're incredibly naive. And Vision says, well, I was born last night. And then Ultron comes at him, and of course, Vision kills him. But I just love this interaction because Vision is to Ultron what Ultron was to Tony, a disappointment, right? Because, and it's funny, God has a sense of humor Ultron was creating this instrument to bring about death to the world, and he is the total opposite, right? So I just thought that was interesting. But anyway, I've talked way too much. Jordan, your thoughts on this last scene, what took place? Let's go. What you got?
Oh man, there's so much going on. I again and like I said earlier, I like Ultron's idea for his plan is to, I mean, he's using the vibranium to bring up not only for his body but to also bring up Sokovia and then drop it. And I mean, it's just like the dinosaurs and like and meteorites and like wiping out the existence. I mean, we see it in all these end of the world movies. But it's a very smart way of doing it. So like Ultron's plan is very, very good. I think Vision, in my opinion, probably the weakest part of the final fight is Vision locking out Ultron out of the internet. Felt like it felt like something that just like was like, all right, how do we write this to where Ultron's only able to be in this vicinity? And
Felt
I
like
just
a plot device, is what you
yeah,
said.
it felt like a plot device in my opinion. But you know what? It happens. Um, and yeah, this whole fight, I love that. As after a couple of the Avengers fight off a couple of the robots, Thor's like, "Is that the best you can do?" And Ultron gets a bunch of the other robots to come, and Cap's like,
You had to
"Had to ask."
Had to
It's so
ask.
great. But that whole fight right there, that is the very last moment we see the core Avengers all fighting together.
That's
The
true.
very, very last moment. And honestly, I couldn't have asked for a better one. I love the slow-mo, even going back on it is such a great touch because it is the last time we will see them. So it's almost like we have to soak in the moment. And just going in, and that's when slow motion should be added to films. It should never be used for just like anything, but when we're trying to soak in a moment, that's when you use slow mo. And this was just perfectly well done. Everybody fighting in their own way, doing their own choreography. So like you could watch this 100 times and still miss some parts of that scene. That's
Yeah.
how amazing the scene is.
Yeah.
And even in the end, they didn't eliminate all the bots because obviously the one ends up pressing the button. And I like that Iron Man and Thor are the ones that like blasting it from the inside. They're trying to explode it. Explode Sokovia. And I mean, it's crazy because the Avengers. I mean, it looks like everything, all hope's lost. And I mean, Natasha tells Steve, she's like, where are you going to get a better view than this? When they're up in the air looking at the sun, and then Nick Fury gets on the mic and he's like, I'm glad you like the view. And of course, the real shield, like Pietro says, is this shield? And he's like, and Steve's like, this is what shield's supposed to be. And it's a nice way of like, this movie does a great job of bringing in the ideas that are brought from Winter Soldier, from Iron Man 3, from these recent movies that we reviewed, and then tying them into future movies. This is a great middle of the road movie for all of these projects to come together in the past and the future. And you know, Pietro dies. Now, here's the thing. This movie came out shortly after X-Men Days of Future Past. We will eventually review that. We're watching this in chronological order. So
Right.
We have not gotten to that quite yet. But in that, we have Quicksilver, which has one of the most iconic scenes in Marvel comic book movie history when he does his slow motion running around the kitchen in the in the jail that Magneto's at. And it was so iconic and everybody loved it so much. And that's part of, I think, the reason. There's so many reasons that you could point to why Pietro was killed in this. Some of it was contractual that Fox had the rights to Wanda and Pietro, and Fox was not owned by Disney at this time. So they said you can lend these characters, but Pietro can't join the Avengers after this movie. So I mean, what's the most logical thing? If Wanda can join and Pietro can't, then just kill off Pietro.
Yeah.
Mainly because I think of the popularity that are the Peter from in Quicksilver from Days of Future Past was. It was going to be almost impossible to have that level of like popularity. Even though this was a more grounded Quicksilver in Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
So killing him off, I didn't like the decision. I think there are a lot of other stories we could have gone with, including Quicksilver in it, and I just never felt right to me. And I would like to see Aaron Taylor Johnson back as Quicksilver in Doomsday, or he could show up in Doomsday. I would love to see him in Endgame, but here's the thing: I don't know if Wanda is even going to show up in Doomsday. Because she's technically dead now. I think she will come back, but I think they could save that for Secret Wars, or at the end of Doomsday. But if you're going to bring her back, I think it would be great to see Aaron Taylor Johnson's Quicksilver, and also the Quicksilver we got from Days of Future Past. So yeah, there's just a lot of moving parts in this final battle. You have Hulk ends up jumping onto a Quinjet that has an Ultron bot in it and throws Ultron back. And who knew that this would be the last time we would see Hulk for like 4 years until Thor Ragnarok. Now there was so much speculation what was going to happen with this. A lot of people said World War Hulk or a Planet Hulk storyline. We sort of got something like that in Ragnarok,
right?
Yeah. But I like that. I don't like that Hulk was separated from this, but I understand setting it up for something like Thor Ragnarok. I get it, and I like that. That ultimately was the reason what split up Natasha and Banner, is that Natasha wanted this life with Banner, but Banner is like, I'm like, you don't understand. I can't have a life. Like I genuinely cannot have a life. So that's where like Banner had to be the one to basically say no, like this can't happen. And
which is weird because he does end up with a life in Endgame.
Yes,
he ends up embracing the monster, and he ends up with the life, and he could have ended up with Natasha.
Yeah.
But whatever.
But anyway. Yeah, this and I mean it all concludes, I think, with a great way of seeing Vision and Ultron having this philosophical conversation.
Yeah.
Like that is what I love, characters who can have even though they're in the heat of a battle, have a philosophical debate. That's what I love about Vision in general. And that's what I like about Ultron also. Ultron can have these philosophical debates all the time in the comics and in animated shows and movies. And that's what I like about him. Even though he is a savage villain,
yeah,
he can take a moment and just have a conversation with someone.
Yep.
Because he's an AI. He wants to continue to learn. So that is what you do in philosophical debates. It's to understand your opponent. And that's what I love about the scene. And then obviously ending with, well, I was born yesterday. Is a great way to end that so much. But yeah, I love this whole final scene. This final act is fantastic.
It was great, man. It was great. So we're at that point, man, but we got to rate it. We got to
real quick.
Yep.
Also, let's get into the conclusion of this movie that follows this, because two things. One, when they go to the new Avengers compound,
Yeah.
we are introduced to the Avengers compound, so we're no longer at Avengers Tower, which is in upstate New York, they say. Steve and Tony and Thor, which I love this scene so much because again, it's not important. It looks like they're having a serious conversation,
Elevator.
and they are having a serious conversation. And Thor says, as long as the Mind Stone is with Vision, it is safe.
Yeah.
And I like that. And that's Thor giving his trust in humanity. That is where Thor grew in this movie.
Right.
And there are character arcs within this movie.
Yep.
And even small ones like with Thor.
Yep.
And then they go back to their stupid conversation where Steve's like, well, if you put the hammer in an elevator, Iron Man and Tony's like, elevator goes up and down, and Tony's like, elevator's not worthy. It's so great. I love it because it's so stupid, but they're right also. They're like, yeah, he's technically not a human, so he can't really be worthy or not worthy. So it's so funny. And then Thor's like, I'm gonna miss these conversations, and it's so sad because that is the last time that they have any sort of conversation like this, all three of them together. It is like just a funny little corny moment. It's heartbreaking that that's the last time we see them all together just having a stupid conversation. I love that. And then like even this hints at like where all of them end up going in the future, and like Tony's like maybe I'll take a page out of Clint's playbook and
no, we gotta take a step back because when Thor is beamed up by Heimdall, Tony says to Cap, that man has no regard for lawn maintenance. And Cap said, Cap doesn't laugh. Like that's why I'm like, Cap doesn't laugh, even though he thinks something, but he rarely shows emotion like that. Because I thought that was pretty good, Tony. But anyway, whatever. But Cap does tell him, I'll miss you, Tony.
Yeah.
He does tell him that, you know what I mean? And it's funny because when Cap goes up to talk to Wanda to whip the Avengers trainees into shape, Wanda says, well, I thought you were too busy gazing into each other's eyes. It's funny. It was a play on words, but it is sad, man. It is sad.
Yeah. But like, I mean, Tony says, maybe I'll take a page out of Clint's playbook, get like a arm, and he ends up doing that. He ends up doing that in Endgame. And then and Tony says, are you going back? And Cap's like, nah, I'm home. And you hear the left, right in the background. Mm-hmm. And because Steve still is a soldier, he loves being a soldier, and he's always wanted that when he was going into the first Avengers movie. And that's all he wants now. But it also ends up being a burden on him that he doesn't end up wanting that life until we see it in Endgame.
He loved one girl, man. He loved one girl. And she's, I mean, he feels like the moment is past, and at that point, I think he's still on his character arc.
Yeah.
In that, because time travel is not possible now, right? Yeah. So what's he gonna do? You know what I mean? Which is why when Ultron says to him, "As if you could live without a war," he's not really lying. Not that Cap longs for war, but what else is there? If everybody that you were around is dead, there's nothing left but to be a soldier, right? So,
like I said, Ultron never lied throughout this entire movie. Yeah. Hey, it's just he went a little too far with things.
Yeah.
And then we see Cap talking with Natasha, and did you know that Scarlett Johansson in this scene was pregnant? Like she was really pregnant, and they had to like do CGI and like have her wear some stuff, and it's funny because she's on FaceTime with or sees a video that Clint sends her with the baby whose name is Nathaniel Pietro Barton.
Right. Yeah.
And so the middle name Pietro coming from Pietro, and the first name Nathaniel is actually named after her, Natasha. It's just obviously So I love that she's like fat, Like it's so funny. And then she, so it's ironic that she is pregnant in this scene. So then obviously they go to see the Avengers recruits, and what's interesting about this is in this scene they filmed the part which you can see the deleted scene where they had a standee for Captain Marvel. That Captain Marvel was originally going to show up in this movie at the end, and they ended up just not going with that. It wouldn't have made sense, and they were like, all right, let's throw Wanda in there. So when you see Wanda, that was actually going to be Captain Marvel there.
Okay.
There was talks of Spider-Man getting introduced in this movie. I knew Spider-Man, not Andrew Garfield's, or obviously we would get Tom Holland in Civil War, but we were going to be introduced to a new Spider-Man that ended up falling through. But yeah, and I mean, this movie concludes in a way that kind of sums up the whole movie when Cap says Avengers and cuts off.
Yeah.
That it felt like a movie that was. It wasn't like the whole story of how good this movie is.
Right.
And then we get the end credit scene where Thanos, we see the glove, we see the Infinity Gauntlet. That's when we know. And he goes in, he says, fine, I'll do this myself. I send that meme. I send a meme of that, fine, I'll do it myself, probably once a month. I just love it so much. And that scene always gets me hyped because as soon as I saw that in theaters, I knew we were going to get the Infinity War storyline. I knew we were, and I was like, I was like, there's no way they're going to do this. And it was at that moment I knew how Infinity War was going to end. So when I went to the theaters, I knew exactly how that movie was going to end, and not in the detail of like everyone fading away. But I knew half the people were going to die in the movie.
Right.
By the end of the movie, I knew that was going to happen. So when everybody in the theater is so shocked and like I'm looking at all the people around me and they're all like, "What is going on?" And I'm just sitting there like, "Yeah, this is exactly what I wanted. This is exactly what I knew was going to happen. I've known this since Age of Ultron. You knew it was going to happen." So yeah, I love this movie so much.
All right. So my rating. And I love this movie as well. My rating is a 9 out of 10, and I would place this above Daredevil season 1 and below Guardians of the Galaxy 1.
Below Guardians. Got it.
And above Daredevil season 1.
All right. You want to take a guess at mine?
I have no idea. I'm gonna say you give it an 8 out of 10. Just below X-Men First Class and above Wonder Man.
All right. So I love this movie. And I love it so much. At one point, this movie was a 10 out of 10 for me. At one point, just because I love Avengers movies so much. But then on my full rewatch 2 years ago, that I realized, I can't put this movie in the same conversation as those, but I still hold high regards for this movie. I think this movie, when you look at people compare this movie immediately to Infinity War, Endgame, and Avengers without looking at it as just itself, and itself is still a fantastic movie.
Yes.
And it is better than a lot of other movies.
It is.
And its ability to still create character arcs in this movie and to flush out characters, to set morals and moral dilemmas is still fantastic. It is still an Avengers level movie. I give it a 9 out of 10.
Wow, okay, so we're aligned there. I love it.
I have it just ahead of Iron Man and just below Winter Soldier.
Okay.
In fact, I debated heavily for a while whether I liked Age of Ultron or Winter Soldier more, but I realized the stylistic and simplicity of Winter Soldier is what makes it so good. That the amount of plot lines in this movie does inherently make some problems, but I can always look past it. I always have just a fun time watching this movie. We both agree 9 out of 10.
All right, that's awesome, man. I did not think you were gonna do it. That's wow. Okay, I'm shocked. I thought you were gonna give it 8 out of 10. Okay, well, hey, we got to come back in a few minutes and do Ant-Man. We're gonna take a pause for the cause and come back. But hey, to everybody who did join us, we thank you. We appreciate you. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back for Ant-Man, and yeah, it should be just as fun. I watched Ant-Man and really got a chance to fall in love with it again. Really, really funny movie. I love the way they did that. One of my favorite character was Lewis, Michael Payne's character. Oh, he was outstanding. But anyway, guys, we're gonna go ahead and end this show. We'll be back in about 10 minutes. Thank you to everyone who joined. You guys have an amazing day, and we'll see you in 10 minutes. Thank you. Thank God. Thank everybody. We'll see you in 10 minutes.
This movie was about
Lights, camera, action is going down. For my ATL movies, when we run this town with your host, T-Will, yeah, keeping it real. From the A to the screen, you can feel the thrill. Rolling with the classics, we're setting the pace. Highlighting the magic of our soulful space. Got the vibe, got the crew, making it tight. When the screen lights up, everything feels right. Grab your popcorn, let's make it loud. T-Will, T-Will. It's movie time, ATL style. Stand proud. From the silver screen to the hearts we steal. T-Will, T-Will. Every frame we capture is a real deal. Yeah. Talking premieres where the stars align. ATL views, yeah, they really shine. Behind the